In this video, I'm bringing you guys along for a real shoot that had real consequences, and I'm going to talk about why I brought just this one lens. This is the Sigma 24-70 Mark II, and this lens really does blow me away, and I'm going to tell you why I wish I got a lens like this sooner. If you guys are new to the channel, my name is Alex, and I tend to photograph and video cars, but in this video, I was invited by Subaru Canada to capture the Sun Run Marathon in Vancouver, as they were one of the main sponsors of this. I've never shot something like this before, so it was a bit exciting. I was a bit nervous about it, to be honest, but I knew I was going to be shooting run and gun, and I had to be as quick as possible. I was going to be trying to keep up with runners. I was going to have to capture diverse angles, and I tend to be a prime lens shooter, meaning just one focal length at a time. That was not going to work in this scenario, so that's why I used the 24-70. The camera body that I chose to use was the Lumix S1R2, which shoots up to 8K footage. We have full frame 60 frames per second and 120 frames per second. So as a videographer, I kind of had all the tools available to me that I needed. And actually, one unique thing about this and why this works so well with the 24-70 is, we'll get into that later. I also posted on my Instagram stories the ND filter that I was using, and this is the Freewell, I believe it's called the K2 system. So there's VNDs built into here, 1 to 5 and a 6 to 9, as well as a CPL filter. So when I was shooting cars, if I needed to cut to car photography specifically, I had a CPL built into this. So let's talk about the 24-70 and why this honestly made all the difference in this shoot. I know you guys have probably heard this all before, that this is like the end all be all of lenses, and I don't know why I didn't look at getting one sooner. In fact, I don't actually own this one. My brother owns this because I've got him into photography recently. He has more money than I do. And he's like, what's the best lens to get? And I told him to get this one, and then I asked if I could borrow it. So it's pretty cheeky of me. Genuinely though, as a prime shooter moving into something like a zoom range, is you just have so much more versatility, and you can move from wide establishing shots to nice tight shots without obviously having to switch the lens off. So that made a huge difference for me, being able to capture everything that I needed to capture without switching my lenses. I already said that, you can cut that. I knew that the build quality of this is great. I have owned a bunch of Sigma glass before, and the build quality is hefty. It's not plastic, but you're gonna have a lot of confidence using this with the zooms. It's metal built, it's weather sealed, so if we ran into any crazy weather in Vancouver, I know that both my camera and the lens can actually handle weather, and I don't have to worry about putting my camera away. I can still shoot. This is a native L-mount lens, which means it's gonna work really well with focus with my Lumix cameras, and it's really, really sharp as well. Sigma, for me, what I've noticed is that these are incredibly sharp lenses. The lens itself has some pretty great features in that you can lock the focal length to 24. When I first got this, I thought that that lock would be like really solid, but it's kind of not. It's like, it just makes you force it a little bit farther, and then it clicks and it de-locks. So I actually kind of wish that that was more of a solid lock. And I wish that you could lock it at different focal lengths, like 35 or 50, but you actually can't. It really only locks at the 24 position. So that was interesting. The other thing is it has a clickable aperture, so you can lock and de-lock that aperture if you want. So I actually locked it on the auto setting so I could control it with my camera. But if you're someone that always likes shooting at 2.8, or maybe you're in video and you want to be able to move this around and have it not actually click while you're moving that aperture, that helps for moving from exposures from, say, inside to outside. So it's really well built lens, really well thought out, and it looks like there's a function button on this lens as well that you could change inside of your camera to be whatever you want it to be. So why do I wish I bought this sooner? Well, it is a time-saving lens, and on a shoot like this where I knew I was going to be moving quickly and had to get to different locations, like I was running and gunning for honestly 6 hours this day, from really, really early in the morning until when the runners were done, and I had to capture a bunch of different stuff. So having the ability for this to be a versatile lens and to move with me was incredible. I had a huge heavy backpack, and I didn't have to pack multiple lenses. I knew that this would cover most, if not everything, that I need. Now, we're not getting into those farther focal lengths, but one of the cool things about the new Lumix cameras is that they have what's called hybrid zoom. So even though this is a 24-70, depending on what resolution I'm shooting in my Lumix, you can actually hybrid zoom farther using kind of like native crop in. So it's a bit of a cheeky hack, but it can turn your 24-70 into like a 24-105, or I think 96 if you're just shooting in 6K or 8K, or you can get even farther if you're willing to compromise and go to full HD, so 1080p. The other great thing for creators with a lens like this is it's a buy once and have many lenses. So as I mentioned, I tend to be a prime lens shooter. That means that I have to buy multiple different focal lengths, and that can cost a lot of money. So while you might pay a little bit more upfront for a quality lens like this, you're kind of set and don't really need to buy any other lenses unless you need longer focal lengths, or like myself, you really like those lower aperture values. I kind of like that sweet bokeh. Now you do get that with this, don't get me wrong, you're still getting beautiful bokeh on this full frame lens, but I do tend to like getting that slight more depth. So for someone like me, I love pairing this with, say, a 50mm or a 35mm 1.8 or 1.4, so that when you want that depth or that bokeh, you can slap that lens on and get it as well. This lens is a 2.8 aperture throughout all the ranges. So at 24, it's 2.8, at 70, it's 2.8. So that is gonna give you an actually decent bokeh range, and it's really clean, really sharp lens, so it does help with getting that really cinematic look. Also, when you go to 70, it looks beautiful, it looks great compressed, and the only two cameras that I really used, aside from like a quick action cam, and I had a different lens on my gimbal, these are the same focal lengths that I have on my drone as well. The drone has the 24mm lens and a 70mm lens, so pairing those two was natural and a lot of fun. I didn't put this on a gimbal, but if you are a solo shooter that likes using gimbals, you can typically balance this somewhere in the middle, and then you're gonna have a good enough range in the motors to be able to use this on a gimbal and get a ton of diverse shots with your Ronin or whatever gimbal you decide to use. So it's a really diverse, great lens for solo filmmakers like myself. If you're someone that shoots weddings or events or cars like myself, this really is a one lens gets it all done kind of lens. I think something that stopped me from buying this lens is I always thought that primes were better and sharper and, you know, just better, but I don't think that that's necessarily the case, right? You have different tools for different jobs, and this job absolutely 100% unequivocally required me to be moving fast and to have these focal lengths from 24 to 70. And I think really the only compromise for me was the aperture value of 2.8. And even that maybe isn't a compromise depending on your style of shooting. So that's something that held me back from buying this lens, but maybe it's not something that should hold you back. Shooting an event like this for Subaru was a lot of fun. It was new to me, and I think just like in a marathon, you need the right tools, the right shoes, the right things you need for a marathon. I don't run, but for me as a videographer, I needed the right tools to capture this job and to be able to do it fast and to be able to do it fluidly and to be able to get the best product was this lens for me. So that's why I decided to make this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it and found some value in it. It can be a bit of a pill to swallow to spend this kind of money, but you get a lot for that money. So I hope that you guys consider this lens or consider something like this lens. I know they also make a 24-105 with a 2.8 aperture. And so that could be something you could look into as well. But make sure you buy what's right for you, what's in your budget, and make sure to do a ton of research. Do not just listen to one random YouTuber on the internet. As always, I hope you guys found value in this video. If you did, consider subscribing, liking, or you might enjoy that video there. But I do hope that I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.